Yeah. I'm so lucky and so blessed to have those skills to be able to do that and to find some way to put it all together, Brian. I mean, I got to tell you, the only way to do that is me kind of following my own vision or dream here, because I can't work for corporate and get all this done, and I can't just be a starving artist either, you know?
Yeah.
So somehow this has come together for me.
All right.
Did you get that? Did you get that sound?
I did.
You want me to do it again?
Yeah, do it again. Do it again. Because we're already rolling. We're probably going to use all this.
There we go. All right, Rob, why don't you come on up? Welcome to Whiskey Wednesdays, brother.
Hey, Brian. Thank you so much.
Really appreciate you coming back. We coaxed you in. Oh, man. Get a little bit more. We coaxed you into the Gear and Beer show. So glad you got to come to the Whiskey Wednesday show.
Well, it was awesome. I'm sure we're going to have an awesome time tonight, too.
Oh, easy. When we're drinking Sexton,
Right.
it's going to be delicious.
Let's give it a try.
I've never had it before, but that was delicious.
Nice.
And if you don't know, our extra glass up here is from the Danny O'Neill episode where, you know, we figured we'd pour a glass to represent our fallen soldiers, our fallen Marines, our fallen, you know, heroes out there that are fighting overseas, along with fallen first responders. It just is a glass thanking all the heroes out there.
Very appropriate.
So, thanks for cheersing that. So if you guys haven't watched the Gear and Beer show, I recommend you watch that one before here so you can see that Rob owns EDC Specialties, which is everyday carry, everything you need for everyday carry. And we asked you back here so we could figure out why you do what you do, because you brought all this cool stuff. You've shown us your store. I want to buy everything you have in your store. I thought I was a gun nut, and I quickly learned I was a gun and a knife nut.
Right.
So I want to know, like, what got you started and why you do what you do?
Well, I guess maybe I do what I do because I get to buy all that stuff.
Half the knives I looked at, I think, were your knives.
Well, it is fun to buy and sell, and have the opportunity to have all those great products in the store. I guess how did I start?
Yeah, what got you going?
Well, you know, I've been carrying stuff on my person and pocket knives even since I was a little boy, you know, running around and getting in trouble at school. But essentially, I always have stuff on me, and I always, you know, have a wallet, and I always have keys, and many of us do.
My pockets are full usually.
Usually, right? And so I would come home and I'd put all this stuff by my bedside on a little silver tray that my grandmother gave me, and I was looking at it, and one day I kind of said to myself, well, you have to get this at all different places, you know. Got my wallet over here at this department store, and you know, you got your knife at the sporting goods store, etc. There wasn't one place that concentrated on everyday carry. And this is just about the time when everyday carry or EDC was becoming a thing, you know, on social media.
All those channels were popping up.
People were popping things out of their pockets and taking pictures of them, and you know, this was starting to catch on a little bit, and it was like, what is this all about? And after I was doing some research, I realized that there were websites related to everyday carry, but there wasn't really a store where you could handle all this stuff, because part of the thing that I found was, especially with things like, oh, I don't know, holsters, for example, is a good example. We all have 2 drawers full of holsters that you buy thinking it's going to work and fit, and then you start using it and carrying it, and you're like, man, I can't deal with this thing.
It's a waste of $20 to $60 right there.
Sure. And maybe we all have drawers full of everything like that. But no matter what it is that you carry on your person, you have to be comfortable with it, right? Whether it's a holster or a wallet or the watch on your wrist. And so I really started to think about how people bought those products. And I guess that's the start of it.
Your business was formed. The whole, there's got to be a better way.
Right.
Came through.
Right.
That's awesome.
Necessity,
Yeah.
the mother of invention, right?
So then you have this grand idea. Because I mean, I'm like you. I'm a guy that when I want to buy, especially a gun or a knife, I want to touch it first. I want to get my hands on it.
Right.
Maybe if I get the opportunity, if it's a gun that I know somebody that owns, shoot it first. But usually I just want to at least feel it to see like how big is it? How small is it? What could I use it for? And that's a huge thing when I walked into your store about a knife. You're like, well, you had all these extra questions. What are you going to use it for?
Yeah.
What do you plan on like carrying it every day? Do you carry it some days? Do you carry it for work? Are you carrying it just because you cut boxes? All that stuff. I mean, I think that's kind of a crazy idea that you had. Like, you buy it everywhere. Why don't we just have one place, and then you educate people in your one place as to like, hey, let me steer you in the right direction, because your store maybe could be overwhelming or exciting, and then it's let me steer you and help you kind of take your pile of mess in your pockets and leave you organized.
Yeah. Well, the store is really unique, you're right. And there's a lot of unique things in the store that people have never seen in person before. We do see some of this stuff on social media channels, and people are familiar with some of the brands that we carry, but they've never had a chance to hold it in person. So coming into the store and seeing this stuff for the first time is exciting, and it adds to the atmosphere, you know, in general in the store, and we really try to make it a comfortable place for everyone. Even though we are dealing with things like pocket knives, in general, you know, the people who come in are very respectful, and we're going through a process with them to educate them on what they're buying. It's not just, you know, handling knives. And so I learned a long time ago, I actually was a graphic designer for many years, and I went through some career changes that led me into the world of publishing. And I got some of the best training of my life through a publishing company based out of Kansas City. And so I went to work as a sales rep for them. And they sent me away for 3 weeks to Kansas City for training. And I came out of there like looking at things a little bit differently as to how the buying process works, because it's not a selling process, it's a buying process, right? Nobody likes to be sold, but everybody likes to buy.
Yeah.
Right? There's a huge distinction there.
I love to buy.
Sure.
My bank account hates it.
Well, it's true, and buying is a pleasurable experience, but being sold something is not. You know, if somebody, the person is pushing something on you or trying, you know. So the experience, in order for it to be satisfying for, you know, the person who's making the purchase, they need to be educated on what they're buying. And the world of knives and EDC in general can be overwhelming. Like you say, there's different materials and different things to, you know, ergonomics and how are you going to use this. And, you know, my goal is to get you the right knife, the right EDC tool, the right flashlight, right? Because EDC is about everything. The right wallet, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you probably have people that come in there that don't even buy knives.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
it's about all the other things that you carry too. Yeah.
So you have accessories, like you said, flashlights, wallets, stuff for your car keys. You have first aid stuff, sunglasses, watches.
Yeah.
I mean, I was blown away. And it really made me look at, like, wait, what do I carry every day? What do I want to carry more of, but maybe I don't have enough? Like, I'm a big watch guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have enough watches, but Rob sells some cool watches. And so you really made me look at what I carry, what I could probably get away from, what I could make into an easier carry. So, yeah, that's really cool. And you definitely aren't somebody who pushes a sale on people. I mean, I handled probably everything that I wasn't supposed to handle in your store. And then
everything
was like, hey, Rob, I'll probably come back and definitely plan on it. I'm just like, okay, I'm adding things up in my head, how much it's going to cost, because I want to buy it all at the same time.
Right, and that's what the store's about. That's one of the reasons why it's been so successful, is because people can come in and get their hands on everything. And a lot of times I'll encourage people not to buy the first time, because especially if I can sense that they're overwhelmed with what's going on in there, and we've talked about so many things, you know, well, it's time to go do some research now, because when you come back and you spend the money on the right knife, you're going to be super happy with it. And I would much rather that happen than you come back and say, you know, I really don't like this knife. It's not working out for me. Yeah, I should have told you about that. You know, it's just not that case. So. It's very, you know, EDC in general, whether it's your wallet or your watch, these are highly personal items. You know, your keychains, these are things that you spend more time with than almost anyone or anything, right? So they have to be almost invisible on your person, like you don't feel them, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, right? You can't be bothered by things going sideways in your pocket, driving you crazy all day, or a wallet that's uncomfortable in a back pocket. And I see a lot of guys that are still carrying traditional wallets, like the big, thick, trifold leather
Yeah, that
wallets.
started out when they bought it like super thin,
Sure.
and then after they had their receipts and their credit cards,
Exactly.
then maybe they wanted the casino, and all of a sudden it's just like
Yep.
giving them back problems because it's just
Totally.
sitting like
It's
this.
all blown out,
Yeah.
the strings hanging off of it.
Like, I've had this for years, I can't
Yes.
get rid of it.
Yes.
I haven't found one I liked.
Right, exactly. And that's the excuse.
Yeah.
But the fact is, there's a lot of different things out there, and it's a matter. Well, okay. Well, how can you pare this down? How many credit cards do you actually need to carry? How many can you put in your phone?
Yeah.
There's so much you can put in your phone these days. So
Not a knife.
not a knife. Nope, you
Yeah.
can't.
And walking into your store, I mean, that was the most knives I've seen in one place. Also, the most expensive knives I've seen in one place. I'm used to walking into like Bass Pro Shop, and I'm planning on spending $50, $50 to $80 probably for a knife.
Sure.
And I walk in there, I'm like, well, I'm not spending anything under like $200, it looks like. And then you started, kind of directing me, well, what do you need this knife for? Do you need it for work? Do you need it because you may need to pull it out in a life-threatening situation? Are you literally just like cutting boxes? Are you peeling apples as you eat them? Like, what is it? And it kind of started opening my eyes to all the different aspects knives are used for and why you might want a certain knife over another. And that was just in one knife room. And then you took me off into this other knife room that was like your specialty knives. And all of a sudden the price tag went from like $200 to $400 to like, I saw my first $1,000 plus knife, and I never knew I needed a $1,000 plus knife until you put it in my hand, and I instantly was like,
Yes.
I definitely need $1,000 for this knife.
There's a difference when it comes to, quality, and certainly you can get a really good knife for $200. As a matter of fact,
Oh, yeah.
They'll cut all day long. But knives are, well, I kind of call them the king of EDC because it's one of humans' oldest tools, right? Neanderthals using knives and they having that on them for protection and for food prep and everything all the way down the road, right?
It's been around forever.
Forever, and it really hasn't changed much. And so we've evolved this thing in design and in, different ways but it's still a cutting device. And the act of cutting, you're still using it as a tool. So depending upon what you're cutting, maybe the shape of the blade lends itself a little better to, this or that. So when we look at knives as tools, then you have to have the right tool for the job,
Yeah.
right? And so, there's the old adjustable wrench that can do just about everything. And then there's the really specialized heavy-duty tools or, get in this tiny little area tool or whatever the case might be that you need that specialization for. There are knives for that too. So that's a really important part of when we're working with a customer to help them select the right knife. Like I have to ask, what are you going to do with it? Because if a guy says, well, I work construction, versus a young lady might come in and say, well, I'm just looking, to have something on me for protection. There's several different things to discuss there,
Yeah.
including the use of knife for protection.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to plug your store real quick. It's my mother-in-law watched the Gear and Beer episode, and I mean, we talked about it. You sell. We're gonna probably talk a lot about knives because you have so many, but you sell everything. You have a wallet that I'm just like waiting to buy to switch my wallet out. You sell really nice tourniquets. You sell tourniquets just for like your fingers if you slice your finger open.
those are easy.
All the way up to like if you get a really bad cut on a limb, you have really good cat tourniquets in there. You sell sunglasses, watches, keychains, keels, you got all that. But what she thought was really cool is you teach people when they walk in the store about like, well, why do you think you need this is a question you tend to lean on first. It may not be asked in that very specific way, but you ask a question that can kind of help wives who are shopping for their husbands, they can easily go into your store and be like, hey, so my husband does this, and this is the kind of knife I'd like to buy him, and this is what I see him using for all the time.
Right.
Husbands know they're probably going to get a really nice knife because their wives are going to be very educated before they leave your store on this knife is going to do everything that you're telling me he does.
Sure. And if we can't get to the bottom of it, we can do it a gift card.
Exactly.
But
Which they should do it. I mean, they should do it anyways.
Right.
Buy him a knife and a gift card because he's going to want something else.
Right. Well, I think you're right about a couple of things there that come to mind is everything in the store is made in the USA. So
It's huge. Huge for me.
Huge for us too. And that was one of the things so I guess one thing I didn't mention also is that EDC Specialties is the very first everyday carry store, brick and mortar.
Yeah, we kind of glossed right over that.
When I started to determine that I wanted to open a business revolving around everyday carry, I had to write a business plan. And the business plan, it's kind of interesting to look back on because it was totally wrong.
Well, they're like a living document. They evolve so much.
Exactly. Well, I thought for sure that we would be selling EDC kits. I was like, we need the functionality on the website so that someone could go on there. They start with a tray, right? So in order to have a kit, you would start with a tray to put all your stuff in, because that was like the whole point of how I started the business.
Yeah.
Looking at my tray going, oh, I had to get all this stuff at different places. Start with a tray and you get 4 accessories. That constitutes a kit. You get 15% off your order, etc. Never sold a single one. I thought for sure that was the way it was going to go, but I was totally wrong. Because people who are buying EDC items are very picky. It's very personal. You aren't getting people out there, Nana's not going on EDC Specialties and buying you an EDC kit for Christmas. It's just not happening. Guys are coming in and holding these things and really, engaged in how they need to carry it. Unless you're just a collector and you don't care and you're like, I need that one in my collection. Okay, fine.
So how did you adapt to that? So you have this idea, and backtracking, you have the idea of, I don't want to go everywhere to buy these things. I'm going to do it myself. So you decide to open a brick and mortar store.
Yeah.
You start with kits where you're selling in person and online, but you're starting to learn that your idea is not everybody's idea of what they want. So clearly you're still here. So how did you kind of work your way through that?
Well, one of the things in the beginning was EDC's overwhelming as far as the vast nature of what people carry, right? Take 100 people off the street, empty their pockets. The matrix is huge, 16 million combinations of things, right?
Oh yeah, we did an episode and we were asking people, and it was like, some women were like, I carry lipstick, cell phone, car keys. One was a 9-month-old baby, a credit card, and a cell phone so I can get a ride home. And some guys carried, a concealed carry. Some guys carried a knife. Some guys carried both. Some guys were just like, I just need a beer in my hand and freaking a cell phone to get a ride home, and that was all their EDC was.
And it's different for everyone, and so in order to even start to eat this elephant, you've got to be able to say, okay, we got to pare this down a little bit, right? So I said, well, look, first off, a lot of this EDC stuff's made overseas. I don't want any of that crap. We're just going to go with made in the USA, because for sure I know that, number one, I feel comfortable with it being made here. I can contact customer service. I can get answers with these dealers. Like, I'm dealing with people here and the money is staying here. And so I wanted that to happen. And then I decided that we would try to determine if there were some essential categories, and came up with 8 essential categories of EDC. And so as you go around the store, I have everything categorized that way. Same thing on the website too. So it's pocket tools, wallets, keychains, flashlights, accessories, storage and organization, pocket knives, etc., first aid. And if you look at all of those things and you say, yeah, I've addressed every aspect of these things, then you're really probably well prepared. you're on your person or in your vehicle. I mean, not everyone can carry a tourniquet on their person. However, if you carry a firearm, you damn well better carry a tourniquet, right, for yourself or for someone else. And a tourniquet can save someone's life on the road too, and even in your own. You're in a car accident, right? You got to have first aid. First aid's really important. And not everyone thinks about it at that level. Like they got a boo-boo kit,
Yeah.
right, but not a tourniquet.
Yeah, Band-Aids and gauze or
Yeah.
Neosporin, but
Yeah.
what if it's serious?
Yeah. If your arm's hanging off, then
Oh, no
Neosporin's
good.
not going to work.
Yeah.
This might.
Yeah, this definitely helps. At least you
This is
forget
really
about
good.
it. It is.
Yeah.
The problem with this is the bottle wants to spill. So we waste a little bit every pour, which sucks, but it tastes delicious.
The way it pours out of the lip. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Drools.
it does. Definitely does. Sad, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked that you kind of addressed a niche, however you want to say it, outside of like the concealed carry. Because everybody's doing the like, the everyday carry. The first thing most guys talk about is, this is the holster I use, this is the gun I carry. And you are like, well, this is the wallet I carry, this is how I carry my keys, and this is the knife I carry every day. And then when this knife, if I can't get this knife, this is the knife I carry. And if I can't get this knife, this is the knife I carry.
And for most people on this planet, this country maybe, has a higher percentage of people who do carry firearms, but on this planet, almost everybody carries some form of identification, currency, right? Don't usually leave the home without that. Keys of some sort. And nowadays a cell phone. We don't deal with cell phones, and we don't deal with firearms because we leave that to the guys who own the gun shops.
Yeah, firearms,
Yeah.
and you don't do cell phone cases.
Don't
You
do cell
like
phone cases.
everything.
Yeah, there's too
everything
many of
in your
those, yeah.
pockets between a cell phone and a firearm. You take care of.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. And I haven't really gone outside of that range over the 6 year we've been in business for 6 years now.
That's huge.
It has stayed in that range. We like to add things all the time to our inventory.
I think you were telling me the first aid stuff's relatively
First aid
newer.
came in when COVID
Yeah.
happened because we could stay open. We were in an essential business if we sold first aid.
Which I mean, it's a nice like way to stay open
Yeah.
during COVID, but it's also like an important thing to sell in a store like yours.
It is.
Like this is
Yeah.
a first aid kit with a tourniquet, and when you tell a guy or a mom or a dad, hey, what if you're in a car accident, something happens to you or a family member or to the person you hit?
Sure.
I mean, not carry a gun where you need this, but I mean, tourniquets are used more for accidents too than
Absolutely.
just firearm incidents.
And you don't have to have major medical training to use a tourniquet. They're simple to use,
Yeah.
and as soon as you get one, just watch the video a couple times, practice at home, right? It's easy to practice,
Yeah.
and then you know what you're doing, and it really could save a life.
I think Justin and John have been telling me that hashtags are the way to make your business pop on Instagram.
Okay.
So I'm making a new one for you since you've been open for 6 years and you sell American-made products. We're gonna do just hashtag rad for the real American dream or Rob's American dream, for whatever one you want.
Love it.
We're just gonna do hashtag rad from now on.
Okay, cool. I love it.
Because that's awesome. Your concept of your store is really cool. The fact that you found, just from kind of coming home, coming from a marketing background, looking at what you carry, and you're just like, there's definitely a better way. You're tired of all these things. Starting your store, following kind of what the customers were driven to, and then making your movements and changes and kind of altering your course to serve the customer is a big deal. And I remember you and I talked, and you thought in the beginning you had this idea of, if I open this store and I'm going to sell knives, I have to sell Benchmades. And I walked into your store and I was like, where are your Benchmades? And your answer was like, we don't need them.
Yeah.
Why is that?
We do sell Benchmades, and we're an authorized dealer for most American brands. But you're right in saying that my approach has been customer driven. And I didn't know when I first opened the store, like the Benchmade, that was the top of the food chain in the knife world for me. I didn't know any different or any better, and I owned a few Benchmades, and I respected the company, and I wanted to become a Benchmade dealer.
Yeah, they're a great company.
Right, absolutely. And I opened up, and we had a few Benchmades. I had a little display like this big with some Benchmades in there, and then I would have customers come in and say, hey, do you have any whatever brand? You have this brand? I'd say, no, I never heard of that brand. Oh, you should look into them. So lo and behold, I start looking into them. And then one day I'm like, holy shit, this knife's $700. Like, who would spend $700 on a knife? And people keep asking, right? So then one day, I will never forget this experience. It's kind of comical. So my partner, Greg, who you met, he was a customer at first who never left. Okay, that's how that worked out.
He just like worked his way into a paycheck.
Yep, he did. He really, really did. I love him. The business would not be the same without Greg.
Hey, let's cheers to Greg.
Hey, cheers to Greg. Thanks for everything, Devil Dog. Anyway, he started coming in as a customer, and he's all into the EDC stuff, and he loves to figure out logical solutions and things like that. And EDC is a lot about that, So he's in the store so much, we're talking everything. One day I'm like, hey, I got to run a bank. Can you watch the store for a minute? Yeah, sure. And then I was getting ready to go to SHOT Show, because that's where we find a lot of our new products and stuff. So I was getting ready to go to SHOT Show, and I said, hey, Greg, you want to go to SHOT Show? Now, he's a Marine Corps armorer, right? So he knows
That's our tie to the military right there.
Yeah, there we go. So he's like, SHOT Show? I'm like, yeah, you want to go? He goes, are you kidding me right now? Because don't put me up like that. I'm like, no, we can go. So we go to SHOT Show, and we had time in the car to get to know each other a little bit more and spent a few days down there. Saw a lot of things, talked about a lot of things. We went to a place down there. There's a little hidden knife store. And when you walk in, it's like right on the strip. You walk in, it's got a bunch of Chinese stuff and like a bunch of crap and everything.
And you're like, not in my store, not in my store, not in my store.
But a customer had told me about this place. He's like, you're going to Vegas, you got to go in there. And he goes, it's not a secret knock, but essentially, tell him I told you to come see him. So we go in there, and I'm like, hey, so-and-so sent me. And the guy literally takes the counter, the register counter, and moves it out of the way and goes, go on back. And I was like, going back, where? You go back, and there's a whole back room back there. And there's dudes sitting on the couch, drinking a martini. They're laser engraving his knife, personalizing it over here in the corner. There's showcases, there's safes. Just like, whoa, what's going on here? So we left that place, and we're like, oh, that's how that's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
That's how you get, there was a professional basketball player in there, picking up his knife, spending thousands of dollars on a collector knife, and that was the first experience that I had. I walked out of there just jaw dropped as to what was available, and I bought a knife there that day that I think I spent $500 on, that I wouldn't give it up for $2,000 now. That was the kind of place that it was, and I was like, man, we gotta do something like this, because there's no place in Sacramento that does this. And that's how that whole thing started. We came back and built the Knife Lounge and called it the Knife Lounge.
Yeah,
and then
it's really cool.
Started to promote that aspect of, look, when you come in the store, it's the Knife Lounge. It's the leather and, the whiskey. And it's a place where you can sit down and think about where you're going to spend your money and how and what you like, and ask questions, and we'll give you the right answers as to, why you might want this or that.
Yeah, and I don't want to kind of gloss over that part, because is that going into that lounge and watching the engraving and all that when you started to do the custom work on knives, where you would anodize it to a specific color, you could powder coat it, Cerakote it into whatever they want, laser engrave things onto knives. I mean, is that what got you started into the whole back shop of your main shop?
I'll tell you, Brian, I never expected that back shop to be what it is.
Because that's a cool back shop. Like that's the front of your store is like you walk in. If you watch the Gear and Beer show, the whole intro of the episode is us walking in, and you see the accessories, the knife room, and then the knife lounge. But then there's the whole back shop.
Yep. The boutique shop is up front, the retail boutique, right? And it's like a men's boutique, right?
Oh, yeah,
and
awesome.
not just for men, but there's a lot of testosterone in there.
Yeah.
And the back shop is so cool to me now because I never thought that we would do this, but I'm a craftsman by nature and by trade. My grandfather was an Italian blacksmith. Came to this country in 1960. My mom was 12 years old. I'm first generation American,
Wow.
Italian American. So I kind of grew up around metal and metal work, and so my grandfather made wrought iron stuff, right? And he would make railings and staircases, and I still have a lot of his things. And I remember being a very small child and being in the blacksmith shop and pounding out stuff, making a mess and that kind of thing. And so to be able to now bring that full circle and be in my shop working with metal again is incredible. And the way that happened, and it's a very ongoing thing. It's a live working area back there where whatever the front needs for support, we integrate into our capabilities in the back.
Yeah.
And it started just simply with sharpening, And I had the back shop, and I was basically, storage and mechanics and all that kind of stuff, and I'd have all my tools back there and everything. And then I'm like, well, we'll make a little space for sharpening, because one of the things that I offer at the store is you get lifetime sharpening on any knife you buy from us. I think that's value added.
Yeah, that makes it easy for me if I'm buying a $500 to $1,000+ knife, and I can walk and be like, hey, I think it's dull, and you go sharpen it.
We take care of it, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, over the course of the years that we've been in business, I don't know very many people who are home sharpeners who are actually really good at it.
Yeah.
Most of the time, there's a lot more ruining of the bevels than there is sharpening of the bevels. So
I can see that.
It happens, and guys get different types of sharpeners. They spend their money, and they end up ruining the geometry of the knife blade.
Yeah.
And so we started to do sharpening so that when a customer came in, not only did they feel like they got the right knife, but they're happy to come back, get it sharpened, and look around a little bit more. And I always like to ask, how's the knife doing for you? Did we do the right thing? Did we get you the right steel? We had a customer who had a knife that was not working for him. It was actually a really good knife, but the steel was not optimum for what he was doing. And he was coming in every 3 weeks for sharpening. And one day I was like, hey, I like you, but
not this much.
What can we do?
I'm getting tired of sharpening your knife, dude.
Right? Yeah, kind of. I'm like, the concept here is that.
Hey, Greg, maybe we stop offering lifetime knife sharpenings.
So I'm like, what's actually happening here that is causing this? Because I don't think it's just the cutting of the boxes. Oh, well, I've been doing a little this. Oh, okay. Well, guess what? We need to go with a harder steel if you're going to be doing that kind of work. So let's go with this steel here. Well, now we see them like every 6 months. So it's a matter of making the right decision and saying, because that steel is too hard for him to sharpen at home by himself, but it's easy for us to do. But if he gets free sharpening, then it's not a problem for him to purchase that steel and every 6 months come in and get it done.
Yeah.
So the value added and the shop is basically just, I guess I'm the kind of guy who goes, I could do that myself.
Yeah, you definitely are.
I just, that's what I do. And Greg's the same way too. So when the two of us look at something and we're like, hey, how can we do that?
Yeah, one of you comes up with an idea
Something.
pretty quick. So you can anodize certain knives that you sell.
Yeah.
See, I remember walking in and there's like a ladder of different colors, and if you pick a certain knife that's, was it titanium?
It is titanium.
Titanium.
Right.
And they purchase it, whether it's the blade or the handle, whatever it is, you actually can take it and be like, no, we can customize that, and that you can walk out with a legit one-of-a-kind knife.
Sure, or any EDC item, because the cool thing about a lot of EDC items is they're made of titanium.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with titanium? Do you have,
My knife was that I sent you. You also, to touch real quick, do the powder coating, and I sent you my knife, and you're like, it was not titanium, but you solved my problem. Like, we'll get you this.
We just do it a
set
different
up
way.
in a different way. Don't worry about it with the powder coating stuff. But I'm vaguely familiar. I'm like novice. I'm novice to knives. I never thought I needed a $1,000 knife to walk in your store.
Right.
I think I said before the cameras turned on that I've always been a gun guy and was like, I'll just get a knife. And then I walked in your store and was like, no, I'm definitely a knife guy.
Right.
And now I need to split my gun budget in half to gun and knives.
Right. Well, titanium is a popular metal for knives for a few reasons. It's super strong, it's lightweight, and it's very friendly. Like, they call it God's metal because you can do almost anything with it. And I mean, you know, even prosthetics and implants are made from titanium. It's body friendly. Titanium can be an amazing metal, and it can change with heat or electronic voltage, or you can do so many things with titanium. It's really, really cool. And it's an art and a science. So to be able to be creative with some of these projects is amazing. And actually, when you start looking at knives like Medford knives and you start getting up into those heavily sculpted,
Speaking my language.
Those beautiful, highly decorated knives that are one of a kind, that is a true artist in there. Thomas Kennard's in there working hard, like on the belt, shaping the titanium, feeling it with his hands, making sure everything is like, no hot spots. It's a true work of art. He's crafting that thing, and then he's anodizing it and trying to hit certain colors. And hey, if it doesn't work out, then you keep working it until it looks good, because that's the way it goes. And that's part of the thing that I love the most about being back there and working on some of that stuff, is being a true artist and a craftsman with it. And so when a customer comes in and says, hey, I would like this knife, but I would like it custom done, and we have the ability to go onto a blank piece of titanium and create something beautiful for them, it's really rewarding to me, because I'm a creative person at heart, and so I still get a chance to do that kind of work without it being so, corporate.
Yeah. Oh, I already have plans to get my son a custom knife. He's way into knives.
Yeah.
More than I've ever been, and he wants a knife. Every time he sees one, he wants it. And so after leaving your shop, I was already like, okay, when he hits a certain age, like, I'm gonna surprise him with his like one-off, one-of-a-kind custom knife.
Right.
So I'm already looking at going down and buying it just so I have it. To give him at whatever birthday feels or Christmas feels right. But I mean, you not only offer that stuff and the sharpening, you walked us through into the like engraving, and you go from engraving to, we can also sandblast it and Cerakote it. We can literally, you bring us a knife that you've had forever, like I brought into you. Like, we can make it as custom as you want it to be. Yeah. And you're the only I was looking for a new knife because I was like, well, kind of seeing the same old thing in my pocket, and I had one of those little Benchmade sharpeners with the two pieces of metal, and it would sharpen it for for cutting boxes, but that was about it. Sure. And I was like, well, I guess I just need a new knife, and then run into you, and you're like, we could fully custom that if you want. Yeah. Like, that could be a whole new knife for you
Yeah.
for a lot less money than buying a new knife. And I'm like, well, don't say that to my wife. Let's just say, like, oh, you definitely need a knife. This one's shot, and then
Well, you're going
that
to
other one on the
retire that
side.
one to the display
yeah, that
case
one's gonna be a
now.
definite special knife.
Yeah, it's a special knife.
But the fact that you offer that stuff, you're the only shop I've heard of it that does that.
Yeah, it is really unique to have both aspects of the business available to us to, purchase something up front and have it customized in the back, or actually manufactured by us. A really good example is, how like people just like to fidget with stuff, right?
Yes.
Fidget spinners or pens or whatever. Well, sometimes part of people's EDC is a fidget tool or just something they have in their pocket, like a Lucky Challenge coin
Yep.
or anything like that, right? Well, I have a customer came in and he said, Rob, I've been thinking about this, and well, I would like a little pocket Superman symbol. And I was like, really? So what do you envision? He goes, I just want it to hold, I just like to have something in my hand, and the Superman emblem would be really cool. Do you think you can do that? So I actually cut one out of 1/4-inch titanium. I polished it beautifully. I chamfered all the edges on it, soft and nice, anodized it blue, and engraved truth, justice, and the American way around the edges for him. And he got that thing and he was speechless. And so it's a one-of-a-kind thing. Nobody's got that. And those are the kinds of things that we can do in the back shop that is just brings support to the front shop.
That's awesome.
It's fun too.
How did you get like your following? Like, I mean, I don't see commercials. I don't see advertising for EDC specialties. How did you create this base?
Well, it was definitely created through Instagram, essentially, before Instagram shadow banned me.
Just give him one more nasty stare again. There you go.
Yes, when in the good old days.
This heals that pain, just so you know.
It does. It's very good, actually. When I first started the business, I had never done a social media post in my life. I had no desire to. I had poo-pooed the whole thing. I really wasn't into it. I'm still not into it from a personal aspect, but it seemed like in order for me to get some following, because I didn't have no marketing budget or anything, I had nothing to work with as far as, what am I going to advertise?
Yeah.
Where am I going to advertise? Like, nothing for that. So I just started essentially posting, trying to create good content that was informative and had good pictures, right? Because as a creative person, at least I had that going for me. I could take a good photograph and grab someone's attention. And I started to get some following, and then it started to steamroll quickly. I got to 1,000, and I was like, all right, let's do a giveaway. And then the next thing you know, it was 2,000 and 5,000, and then I was like, oh man, we're at 10,000. And I remember one day, I got like 100 new followers in one day, and I was like, man, we're rolling pretty good here. And it started to steamroll, and this is when also we were doing a lot of comedy and having a lot of fun with the videos that we were doing, and we got a shop cat. We're having a lot of fun with the cat on the videos. People were just coming in from everywhere.
Yeah.
And they were engaged and they were loving the content and also purchasing my goods. And I remember asking somebody, I'm like, man, I don't know about this social media stuff. Like, how does a like equate to $1? Because I'm really not interested in likes. I don't care if anyone likes me. I want the dollar.
Yeah.
Right?
You hate me, just pay me, man.
Right? I mean, running a business here. Yeah. So, I posted a knife one day. It was actually a really cool knife. It was a Wilson Combat from Hogue, and it had the starburst pattern.
Yeah.
Right?
I think I've seen that
like
knife.
the Wilson Combat grips. And I said, hey, this is a really cool Wilson Combat knife. If you have a WC, then you need this knife, and if you don't, you need this knife anyway. And within like 2 minutes, somebody messaged me, I'll take it. I was like, oh, that's how you make $1 doing this. And the light bulb clicked, and the whole thing started. And as we became authorized dealers for more and more reputable brands, and as I invested more and more in the company and in the branding behind what we were doing, the followers just went through the roof. And so we got to 35, 36, 37,000, and that's when everything stopped. So I don't have the reach I don't have the reach anymore that I did. However, I still use social media regularly to communicate with my following, and hopefully somebody sees it. I mean,
yeah, that's a bummer.
we're
It's
not
slowed
growing much anymore, but
That's really cool, because what I'm almost hearing you, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is you came into this world with a basic understanding of everyday carry and knives, and through listening to your customers that seemed more knowledgeable than you, you've grown this company from a small everyday carry shop to a very large, reputable everyday carry shop. And have taken a lot of input from customers, so much to the point where you hired one of them to be like second in command for you.
yeah. I definitely never, certainly at the beginning, never claimed to be an expert, but I knew that there was a need for this, and I knew what I carried. I knew why I carried the things I carried, but every day I learn new stuff about products and materials and ways of doing things. Every single day is a true learning experience for me, and I mean that's one of the things that keeps me going and doing what I do every day, because it's certainly not easy.
No, and that's exactly what we're looking for in guests on the show are people that take the risk, whether it's in business or in we've had musicians on that took a risk in music, that took a risk as being a first responder, a veteran, just stepping out to take a risk to serve the greater good of humanity, which is, I mean, what you did. You have a niche, however you say that word, people can comment whatever it is. You took that risk to just see, here's a need that needs to be filled. I'm brave enough to fill the need. It's going to be a financial burden potentially, but it needs to be done. And you've created this massive following from it, which is, I mean, sitting on my end, talking to a guy who's done that is really cool. And that's what the heart of an entrepreneur is.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. That means a lot to me to hear that from anyone. I mean, I have never really looked for anyone's approval. I'm sure my mom will be the first to say that I got more balls than I got brains. I've done things my entire life that don't necessarily jive with what mainstream might, expect or think or whatever, but I don't give up. And if I can see something in my head, Brian, I think it as a creative person, like if I see it in my head, I feel like I can make it happen, and so that goes all the way through every little detail of the things, even like engraving or talking to you about how you'd like to change your knife, all the way through to how do I run this business, how do I start this business. And even now, we're doing new things. Like a really good example of one of the things I'm really proud of is, there are a lot of variations of pocket knives, pocket tools. There's so many variations, and there are very few that are, let's say, close to perfect, right? Many of those that are in that range, just like probably anything, it doesn't have to be EDC stuff, but they're highly sought after, and they're hard to get because they're made in small quantities, because that craftsman's taking the time, the materials aren't always available, right? This is not mass-produced stuff. This is high-quality, intense work. And we've seen a lot of stuff come and go. I've bought a lot of products that don't work for me. They sit on the shelf for a while, and I say I'm never buying that again, or we do giveaways with them, or they go in the clearance bin, and you say, I'm never buying that again. How could that product be out there? It doesn't,
Yeah.
doesn't do the job. So I've been designing my own tools to exactly what my customers are saying they need and want.
That's really cool.
Right? So someone comes in the store and they're like, I got this, but I need it to do this. You need to, and I'm going, oh, I know how to make that. So now we're designing these tools. We're actually manufacturing them as well. And when I say I'm learning every day, I literally am learning every day. We're buying new pieces of equipment now in order to fulfill orders that are coming
awesome.
in. It's tremendous. And it feels good to me as someone at this juncture of my life to be able to say that I'm producing.
Yeah.
I'm out there being involved and,
Yeah.
I'm doing my best.
You're doing a great job. I mean, and you wear many hats, right? You're an entrepreneur. What do you say? You're a scientist. You're creative. You're doing a whole bunch of stuff.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky and so blessed to have those skills to be able to do that and to find some way to put it all together, Brian. I mean, I got to tell you, the only way to do that is me kind of following my own vision or dream here, because I can't work for corporate and get all this done, and I can't just be a starving artist either,
Yeah.
So somehow this has come together for me.
Well, I mean, you also are a doctor. And if people watch the Gear and Beer episode, I mean, you clearly diagnose people with EPD. You can figure out more about what that is on the episode where we sit down with you.
Yes.
On the Gear and Beer show. But you're following, I mean, I don't feel like you go into like that enough, because you have like 38,000, close to 40,000 followers on Instagram.
Yep.
But they're pretty impressive followers. I mean, you've gained a loyal base of followers to the point where you've shared with Justin and I that you have people that come up from the Bay Area or farther south in California just to your store to do, to purchase knives and things, but not only that, to do their pocket dump challenge against you and Greg. But you've also had guys from Oregon come down. I mean, you're having people from states, different states, come to your shop because you're one of a kind. And that's pretty impressive in itself, just to have that amount of loyal followers who actually will drive hours just to come down to your shop.
Thank you. I'll tell you what, it is one of the most rewarding things when someone comes in the store, because I usually ask, how'd you hear about it? First time in the store? Yeah, first time in the store. How'd you hear about us? I follow you on Instagram. I always thank them for their support right away, because my audience is everything when it comes to engagement, and I feel like that audience is the driving force of the business, my local customers included. But when people come out of their way to come to the store, those are the people who are truly loyal, customers who want to come in, and they always say, oh, where's the cat, and where's Hanson, and we had a guy come from Hawaii one time. He flew to California for something else, but he drove to Sacramento just to come to the store. He's like, I'm mainland, I'm in California, I'm going to the store.
Wow.
So that makes us feel really good.
Yeah.
And that's something that reward is huge for me too. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're not just a knife store, and I don't think you're just an everyday carry store. That would be putting you into like too much of a box. You're a store that, on the face, you're selling everyday carry stuff, but once people come in and they meet you, and you start hearing a problem, you're like, let me solve your problem.
And it's working.
It's innovative.
I'm really pleased with the direction the company's gone in, and I'm hoping for many more years of the same, and I hope that my original store can stay kind of boutique level. I'd love to expand someday. We got pretty close last year to maybe taking on a bigger area, a bigger place, but it didn't work out, and probably for the better, But someday it may require a little bit more retail space. We'll just see how it goes. But for now, I think that the concept of the store is solid, and it can serve everybody because everybody has EDC stuff.
Yeah. They
So
do.
yeah, I'm not leaving anybody out of the equation.
Men, women, everybody's got stuff they're putting in their pockets or purses.
Yep.
Or fanny packs. My wife's into fanny packs again, so that's coming back.
I hear they're coming back.
Maybe you'll make a cool fanny pack. I don't know.
There's a guy at Blade Show who makes a super cool fanny pack, and it kind of attaches to the side of the leg, but it's like $300 or $400 he wants for these things, and they're really nice. They're well
Is it
made.
handmade and everything?
They're
probably.
They're all like super high quality. You'd have it forever. It's called a koala bag.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a really nice product, but I've yet to get them in the store, so we'll see about it.
Yeah. So you have EDC specialties, and through EDC specialties, I know if you get diagnosed like I did with EDP, I'm not going to tell them what that is. They can find out on the Gear and Beer Show. But you get diagnosed with EDP with the prescription you write.
Yep.
It's like 15% in the store. Or
I
10%?
think there's a 10% discount code
discount?
on there. Yep.
And then you offer first responders.
Yeah, always 10% discount for first responders, military, veterans. If you have a badge, if you serve our country, if you serve your community, talk to me. We'll take good care of you.
Worth going in. I told you, being a first responder, what I look for. And I needed multiple knives, and clearly steered me in the right direction. And then you're also doing EDC
Tool company?
Tool company, and that's for all the tools that we kind of just spoke about, right?
Yeah, it's a way for me to actually kind of bypass some of the algorithms of Instagram. By the way, okay. So when it comes down to social media, Instagram is our home base.
Okay.
But we do have a YouTube channel, EDC Specialties, and it is something that we're working on growing. So we're going to be doing more and more informative, educational videos. We're going to be doing, I don't necessarily want to say reviews, but we're going to be talking about products and, informing people on what they need to know if they're interested in those products.
Okay.
So that's something that we're going to be working on. And then as far as Facebook is concerned, I don't have a Facebook page at all, but if you hit me up through Instagram, I always respond. So I just wanted to,
Awesome.
throw that out.
Well, if people
there.
are looking for American-made stuff,
Yeah.
and they're looking to support, other Americans who are
Right.
out there putting basically everything on the line to keep their own lights on and the heat on, check out EDC Specialties. Find them on Instagram. We're definitely going to be doing a lot more with you. I know that we have the show with you on the Gear and Beer Show. We did the Whiskey Wednesday. We're doing events coming up with you. We have other ideas on episodes coming up for the Gear and Beer Show. A lot of cool stuff you guys do, a lot of stuff that I think we've found a really cool partnership to do with. So if people want to check it out, they can check it out on our show, and we'll have links to your stuff too.
Sounds good. And we will do the same. Let's get in on some fun stuff, do a giveaway coming up here soon. Yeah, we'll get together and throw together some goodies from the store.
Anytime you want to drink, Rob, come down.
Sounds good.
Thanks for being here.
Brian, thank you for having me.